of those games a couple days ago.
Yep.
I may be wrong, but that was actually surprisingly good from Fireloli because I didn't even think that was in his wheelhouse. He likes to blow things up, and Ivan doesn't usually do that, but he has taken off the table in this one. RNG will first pick the Ashe again for Uzi. There is so much on the board for him in terms of priority.
So what's interesting about the meta, I didn't suspect that it would be a Lulu pick, but I want to kind of talk about why it's not a Lulu pick. It's because of Meiko. Meiko is one of the first LPL supports that when Lulu was the big flavor of the month, being picked, like priority picked every single game, or definitely on second rotation for sure, Meiko would have no problem giving that away and lock in the Thresh and just go toe-to-toe and really destroy you in the lane.
Karma was also the pickup there as a flex for RNG. XiaoHu and Ming, of course, can share that one. Back over to EDG. It looks like a couple seconds left before they lock in their AD carry, which will be Varus facing down Uzi's Ashe. And I'm still a little bit anxious because Fizz is still on the table for both of these top laners if they want it.
Definitely a bigger comfort pick for, Zet this time around. That would be interesting. I don't think we'll see it.
Yeah, we'll see about that one. But it is Lulu locked in the end. And to be honest, he was hovering Janna. If you look at Lulu, she's just a better Janna right now. She's the better Star Guardian, in all honesty.
Pretty much does the exact same thing. Like you were saying, she can absorb everything with the shield, and then she augments you with all of those free stats, as well as the wild growth. She can harass much better in lane. I just feel like she's the offensive Janna. Yeah,
exactly. So in this one, it will be that Lulu with Varus. Meanwhile, RNG lock in Jayce for XiaoHu. Could be LetME as well. There's a champion that fits within his arsenal. Back over to RNG for their bans here for us.
Two flex picks in top rotation. Like, there's so much AD damage. Normally you wouldn't see the Jayce unless you had an AP jungler, but with the Elise ban, I almost want the Nocturne Leona comp to come out of RNG. I doubt it'll happen. But yeah, it is that possibility because of all of the flex pick.
Two mid lane bans, Syndra and LeBlanc. Scout and XiaoHu will feel a hit towards their champion pools. And 20 seconds left on the final ban from RNG here.
I think you would ban Taliyah here. They probably won't. They'll probably look towards that top lane, try to pinch it with either a Gragas or a Shen. But I don't like the idea that Taliyah is being left open because I don't think EDG will make the same mistake and overlook that champion. Ah, thank God.
It is, yeah. Nailed that one on the head there, Frost. Taliyah comes in as a final ban from RNG. Now EDG on their last ban. Let's see where it'll go. Maybe it'll be another mid lane ban, but the fact there's double flexes from RNG makes it very difficult. They could nail the jungle pool again if they wanted to.
Of course, Coach No Face standing behind EDG has so much experience, former coach of Rocks Tigers.
And there it is. Lisa in ban is the last one from EDG, and it really puts it up against Mlxg now. He doesn't have a lot to choose from. I'm certainly looking at something like a Rek'Sai even.
Rek'Sai, Nocturne.
Am I missing anything?
Nidalee,
yeah, that's
I was going to say AP jungler. I completely spaced as well. She's the other one that's left. Does work very well with the poke composition that they're already been kind of crafting here. And I actually hate that word poke composition because I feel like it almost doesn't exist anymore. It's more of like an up-tempo sieging comp.
Sure. I think it's easy to visualize, right? Because they throw out skill shots, it hits you, and it's pokey.
I 100% agree with that, but I don't think it's why the composition is so strong or why these comps have really started dominating globally.
That's true. EDG will pick up Gragas for Mouse in here. Right, yeah. Graze into the jungle, and then Ryze for Scout. So he is again rearing his head, even after the nerfs. And back over to RNG for their final pick. And it should be the top laner, though XiaoHu could flex the Jayce up there. Fizz is still open. Shen's going to be picked up, however. Feel like they have enough damage on this team for RNG, and LetME will look to support his bigger carries on the team.
It's the fact that they can play around so many structures at multiple windows if they have the Shen, because they can kick him out into a slide lane and play a 1-4 type of composition. Depending on how far and how comfortable XiaoHu gets ahead, they could also look for a 1-3-1 and stay so safe as their collected unit in the middle with Karma.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like Fizz did something or would have done something very similar in this one, but of course, this is more of a defensive pick for Uzi.
I know, you always want to see those carry-oriented top
Yeah,
laners.
I know, yeah. Especially because of how well it did last game for LetME, but he's going to allow everyone else in this team their time to shine in this one, unless he just goes absolutely ham on the Shen. But still, we have our full compositions here as the coaches Still looking pretty buddy-buddy.
And I feel like
they're exchanged.
I feel like it's almost a complete reversal this time around from comps. RNG, not necessarily a pick composition this time around. We use that word poke, but it's a sieging composition. It really thrives in these elongated sieges when they get to play in the lane phase and get the creep wave behind them. Also, the fact that they have the Shen, he's going to get the flank much faster than the teleport because he does have that stand united. Or if he doesn't need to flank, if they're able to disengage effectively with Ming on that Karma, he can just go to town in one of those side lanes.
Definitely happen. I'm glad we get to see the Jayce come out in the mid lane now. I feel like XiaoHu can do a lot more with that pick in terms of carry potential. It would be a big spike towards that mid game as well.
Yeah, if he ever gets ahead of the clock, it can be absolutely devastating for EDG, and Scout knows this quite well. It's another champion that him and XiaoHu have in their shared pool. Scout has been devastating on Talia and Jayce, and again, I'm kind of surprised that EDG aren't prioritizing him a bit higher and getting him on one of those comfort picks. I understand that they want to make space for Meiko and Zed to be comfortable across from Uzi and Ming, but I feel like Scout's really their X factor if they want to come online and win this series.
Definitely feels like that is the case, and it's the second time now that we've seen priority on the jungle, specifically for Fireloli, so as a lot is on his shoulders as we head into Game 2. EDG and RNG still on that road as we see a random Shen sword just appear on our map, but we're getting ready for this one. The crowd's ready as well. This is a loud crowd today.
The all-Chinese team.
Yeah, of course they're going to be coming out in force. And RNG, speaking of which, are already heading into this jungle for EDG, placing down this deep vision.
And EDG need to adapt their level 1 strategy. Again, we talked about in game number 1, and you saw it, they like to place this really aggressive deep vision level 1 and look for delayed invades. That is no longer an option when you're across from the incredible level 1 potential of RNG's comp. Not only because they have the Jayce, but they also have the Shen, the Ashe, the Karma, all of those champions. So good at level 1.
Taking a look at some of these keystones, mid lane Scout has gone for the Storm Raiders over Courage of the Colossus here, going into XiaoHu. Feels like it'll probably be harder for him to get in range and actually land the Rune Prison before XiaoHu's already hit him in the face. But Mlxg just took a lot of damage. He's down to half already, but he's fairly sustained through the jungle anyway, so he's not too unhappy with how this turned out.
And that said, Uzi and Ming were already postured that they were going to look for a hard leash for Nidalee either way. It is a bit curious that Uzi and Ming would give away control on the initial incoming creep wave, but we'll see what Zed and Meiko do with it, and if they're able to punish Uzi and Ming.
A little bit unfortunate. I feel like the foot of the Cougar just kind of caught those wolves there. Takes a bit more damage, but it's not going to be too bad in the end. Fireloli also starting up in his jungle. Everything seems pretty normal across the board so far. Got the push advantage from Zed and Meiko, however, pushing into Uzi to start this one off. Uzi just trading blows as well. And Ming's Soul Flare just flies right through Meiko and Zed, so already this early laning phase is going the way of Zed and Meiko, seeing how much damage they can do under this tower.
But this was to be expected, the fact that they did go for that hard leash for Mlxg, not only because he lost a lot of his health, but that he was delayed on that side of the map either way.
Looking towards mid now. XiaoHu on his Jayce. Just going for that early longsword to start this one off. Fireloli has gone through his jungle. Is level 3 on his way into Mlxg's side of the map now. And Mlxg has cleared out his top side. He's looking for this mid lane gank, in fact. XiaoHu's going to have to back away. We're looking for that Rune Prison. Uses 2 Disguise to open up some distance. Lots of damage coming in from end of the line. Looking to dive underneath this tower, but XiaoHu does walk it off and doesn't even use either of his summoners.
A lot of confidence there from XiaoHu. The fact that Fireloli and Scout held on to their flashes, knowing that he had flash and cleanse available. So a lot of patience and discipline from both teams on display.
Yeah, Meiko just getting a nice bit of harass there onto that bottom lane of Ming. Meanwhile, he'll just carry on pushing on towards Uzi. Just a strong start from EDG so far into this game. Around 300 gold as well, just from the pressure that has been exerted from Fireloli. I really want to visit topside at some point because a large CS advantage has been opened up from Mouse. I just want to see if there's a minion wave resolving. We
really saw this start at IEM Katowice. Gragas into Shen was the big pick for Hong Kong esports on display, and it's kind of a soft counter. There's not a lot that Shen can do in the matchup. He looks for a taunt. Gragas can actually belly bop him. He can push a lot more effectively. Shen's a bit more item reliant to match the push power. So no surprise to see Mouse kind of running away with the initial part of that matchup just due to those champions' micro interactions.
Definitely tough in the early game. Mlxg is going to hop over now into Fireloli's jungle. Place down that trap. There's no Graves there. Also, no Graves on the Krugs. So he'll know that Graves will be on his way to the bottom side at some point. So he's got a small window to look towards this bottom gank. Zet has to jump away, takes a bit more damage, but Meiko's now under attack. Exhaust coming down onto Mlxg. Big arrow from Zet. And that could have been disastrous as the Javelin flies forth, but it's no kills, and Fireloli looking for this counter gank now.
Just slightly too slow to the punch, Fireloli, to get involved in all of the action. And I agree with you. If that spear had connected, 100% Mlxg was going to turn and look for that. But now Fireloli, he's on the hunt.
And he's heading into that jungle. Quick blast plant back into the top side. He may even look to start pressuring Mouse, who is bullying LetME around. LetMe's probably a little bit miffed that he didn't get his fist this time around.
It does mean that Mouse is going to be overextended, and the window is closing on any sort of gank pressure or kill threat that Mlxg and LetME would have on Mouse right now. As soon as he has that level 6, he still has flash, so he'd be super safe.
Mouse has also gone for his initial back already, so the fact he's on triple Durans to the one Duran deal from LetME is a really nasty start for Shen. He's constantly having to farm underneath this tower. And
this is what we were talking about. LetME just looks really uncomfortable, which is why I think you leave Shen up, despite the fact that he's been such a priority champion.
Thanks for that one, Mlxg.
Thanks for the assist. A priority champion for the rest of the LPL, because it doesn't mean anything for RNG. They can't use it as effectively as other teams.
Fireloli also getting that Scry's Bloom down, so he knows exactly what Mlxg has done in this jungle. So he's just trying to farm up. This Nidalee has not really turned online just yet. Fireloli, remember, this was the second time that EDG have prioritized the Graves pick for him, so we're expecting some great things from him to make the pick worthwhile. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Meiko and Zet also getting their picks on first rotation.
Meiko right there, showing why he gets to have first rotation pick there, hiding in Fog of War, proccing the Thunderlords, and doing a pretty significant chunk of damage from Uzi.
Yeah, just generally being annoying. Uzi has gone for the early vamp step though, so he's going to get a lot of that health back over time. Ming is also pressuring into this bush. We have not even looked at top lane, and I know I'm a micro top lane caster, but I just want to see what's happening.
He's like, let me look at the top lane. That's where I want to thrive. What's cool here, though, since we are looking at bottom lane, is kind of the different ways that these 2v2s actually get control of the lane. So Lulu and Varus, despite the fact that Varus is such a strong pushing champion with his line and AoE clear, they're winning through trading, or they're trying to get priority through these trades. Meiko making these cheeky glitter lances through the back line, whereas Uzi and Ming with Karma and Ashe are all just about the creeps. They don't care about making this trade. They just want to play Farmville in the bot lane on their Facebook and push it in.
It's absolutely fine, because that's basically it. Uzi is a bot lane Nasus for like 20 minutes of the game, and then it's like, all right, guys, I got 2 items, now I can be useful. But until that point, he really would like to get those 2 items more than any other AD carry I've seen.
100%, although he will find a lot of use when he has level 6, but hold on.
Oh,
no!
Oh, that was really, really good from Mlxg, placing down that ward just in case Fireloli had to, could have been there, and in fact he was in this case.
We do. We have complete evidence that he can be taught. He's like, fool me 3 times, I'm not face-checking this bush.
Yeah, not gonna happen. But had he face-checked on a level 6 Fireloli, 100% he was dead.
And again, playing another champion, Elise Nidalee, they do not find these big power spikes at level 6 like every other champion in the game. So Fireloli more than happy to take that trade.
Good to go. Mid lane, still very even. Mlxg will just take away his own red, and Fireloli is on his way up there. We might see this 2 versus 2 open up. Scout is going to get opened up on from XiaoHu. And going to get knocked away as well. The flash, and that's cleansed out. Fireloli flashing afterwards as well. He is hungry. Again,
excellent discipline and patience from XiaoHu. He didn't immediate cleanse. He waited for the root to come down and forced the flash out of Scout.
Mlxg so still farming his jungle, and all that did was give Mlxg some time. So he's now hit level 6. He's now on par with Fireloli. We'll probably go back after this Crow camp as well. Look towards his next item, his big item of course, which will be the Runic Echoes coming out here. And Scout taking his own blue buff. Tears on both sides of the mid lane matchup, so it is basically a farm fest. And still looking at that top side, it has been equalized now from LetME, so it's not as bad as it was now that he's gotten that Spectre's Cowl.
You still want to see it.
I'm itching. I really want to see that CCTV footage of top lane.
You can't see.
No idea what's going on.
You can't see Pulse, but he does this thing when he gets excited. He kind of steps forward on his toes. And he's like, just show me. He cranes his neck like he can control the camera.
I'm just trying to peek over and see if I can get into top lane, but I can't, unfortunately. It's not a 3D map at this point in time.
Top lane wants to get into bottom lane, so I'm sure we're going to see them soon enough because we have the Ashe Arrow live on Uzi as well as the Stan United live on LetME. It would just honestly be a waste of both of these massive cooldowns if XiaoHu and Mlxg didn't make a visit bottom. In fact, as I say that, they're starting to move in and get control of that Silk Road.
Down they come. So many wards, even refreshing that ward that's about to expire as well from RNG.
They will see it go down, so they know that they've been spotted.
Yeah, absolute control. XiaoHu clearing out this mid wave, and now we're looking towards bot lane.
Yeah, this is tempo control from RNG. The fact that XiaoHu can make his rotation, instead he's going to go ahead and back. You do not want that. Oh, he wants it.
I mean, he knows he has a control ward there, and bot lane has always been pushing up and had control over Ryze, so RNG know that EDG are blind, but now Fireloli, the fact that bot side has just completely disappeared from the map, surely something's happening.
Really poor teleport, however, from Mouse. Because he completed it, it kind of forces EDG's hands here that they're going to take the Ocean Dragon. Not the greatest of prizes for this composition, would have been better suited on RNG's kind of high-tempo siege comp. But now, oh wow, they're going to try to double down.
Oh, they are going bot side. Everyone will back away from RNG. And the push comes in as well from Zet, so they are looking towards this bottom turret.
And this puts so much more pressure on LetME in the top side. He needs to make something happen, and he's actually resetting position. So I think everyone's just going to settle down, call each other's bluff, give away the teleport for Ocean.
And the fact that XiaoHu gets to take this wave in the mid lane for free while Scout goes to the top side to collect that minion wave. LetME is now evened that one up. Mlxg getting slowed down by a Glitter Lance, and Uzi is just going to town on Zet. I think it was a chain of corruption. We'll lock him up.
So the scary thing is as we look ahead at Mountain Dragon, it's going to be in that window between the 15-16 minute mark, is that RNG's composition will be well and truly online. You look at EDG, they would need to get ahead of the clock if they wanted to kind of meet their power points at that moment. So I feel like the Mountain Dragon should go to RNG unless something just goes drastically wrong. And EDG, I don't know if I'm confident enough that they won't take that fight. Just because it's the LPL. Like, they see everyone group up like, man, we can't let this go. We have to die for it. But that would be the snowball moment for RNG.
Definitely for our top teams, they are more tempered when going for those plays. I know for mid of the pack players, the kind of red mist will descend and they just have to go for it regardless of what is going on in the game. But I think like EDG have learned to center themselves as the split has gone on.
It would just be super important that they find something that they can trade for that objective. At best, it would be a turret. So they need to really be paying attention as this Mountain Dragon crawls closer and how they're prepping their top lane waves. But RNG, they're pulling the trigger on pushing down bottom.
Here comes the drone, seeing what's approaching. Now RNG know that there's people rotating to the bot side and will instantly back away. Fireloli trying to stop this minion wave.
Yeah, they needed to really respect the fact that A, Mlxg wasn't there, and B, they didn't have direct eyes on Scout. Really respecting Realm Warp and how it could reposition Fireloli and him.
Yeah, it looked like the drone just tagged Fireloli as he was on his way down, so really heads up play from RNG, but they have heavily dented that bot tower, and they were still looking for it. This tiny little minion wave coming in was not enough to actually beat down on this tower.
They have a lot of confidence to do this because they know that they have the TP advantage. So this is a 4v5 at best case scenario for EDG if all members get involved. A lot of pressure on Mouse to keep track of this Shen and see if he can disrupt that Stand United with Cask.
It's true. At the very least, Mouse can interrupt both of the TPs. XiaoHu dropping low. Meiko getting caught out. Uzi will step up. XiaoHu goes in and will kamikaze dive onto that support. Here comes the round warp. This could be disastrous for Uzi. Teleport coming down from LetME, but it's not enough to keep the AD carry alive. Mlxg getting chased down as well. On the Spell Flux, it's not enough to kill him, but a 2-for-1 trade for EDG.
Brilliant play from EDG, and all credit to Mouse. I know he wasn't even in that play, but check out where he is in the up into the top lane. He did everything to make sure that the Stand United couldn't come out immediately and defensively. Too little, too late.
2 kills to EDG and the bottom tower. This play that RNG were trying to set up for so long backfires, and EDG will now take the advantage in this game. Have the Dragon, have the gold advantage, and the kill advantage. It's good to see it all go back to base now and look to consolidate their lead.
And now they have a small window where they can actually play their duo towards the top side of the map and try to kind of snowball leapfrog ahead before Mountain Dragon spawns with more structure global gold.
Blue buff also going over to XiaoHu. So there's still power points on the side of RNG.
They're going mid.
Meiko is MVP support, keeping this entire minion wave. He's holding the minion wave right here for for Zet, who's going to walk up mid lane.
But I don't know if this is going to be enough. So EDG have decided that instead they're just going to reallocate kind of their gold resources. The bot lane will fall. You can see that RNG are like, okay, it didn't work this time, but for sure the second time around. And Scout's respecting that. He stands way back. He's like, this is fine. You can have this one. So now he's just playing defense on mid lane.
All RNG needs to do is just stop any member of EDG coming down, and the tower finally goes back over to RNG, who, for the most part, equalize the gold total, so still about 400 gold in it.
But see, this was the error. You saw the ping go delayed on top tower. EDG should have rushed top. They probably could have traded top outer for bot outer, and still kind of snowballed themselves ahead with more structure gold, because Mountain Dragon spawning in 2 minutes, I don't know if EDG have had enough time to try to match the natural power spikes of RNG's composition for this upcoming possible fight.
In less than 2 minutes, it's up in about 1 minute now, so time is really against EDG.
Also, RNG need to get their backs in, particularly on XiaoHu. He's been sitting on quite a few pieces of his itemization, and he certainly has a lot of gold.
That's a mid-game Jayce. Mid tower being pushed in, and so what were you saying about poke compositions, Frosk? I think we just found it.
So the reason why I don't really like the word poke is because it's not why the composition is strong. You can see that they're definitely doing a dent by playing around Fog of War, but I feel like poke is more indicative of playing around vision denial and monster objectives versus playing around structure objectives. And that is the superior way to play League of Legends. League of Legends, if you do it correctly. It means that you have to have great flanking vision, but always play around the towers because they're a source of global gold.
Yeah. I think we can find a middle ground and just say that
no,
poke composition, poke compositions are a facet of what you are alluding towards. Because we can definitely say, you would say that Jayce is a poke champion, Nidalee is a poke champion. As you can see in the mid lane, as the engage comes out from Mouse, and Mlxg is instantly dead, even with the shielding out from LetME. And XiaoHu, he was looking about going in, and LetME still comes into this mid lane, burns both of his TPs, but EDG have the tempo.
And that's what I was saying. They need to be played correctly. Look at the flanking vision. That is all EDG control wards. They were able to find a hole, get into the Fog of War, and use that precious cask to scoop them out from under their tower.
And now this dragon will go over to EDG, and that's exactly what they needed. EDG really regained control over this game.
And this hurts for RNG. This was their power spike moment. Take a look at Jayce's itemization. He was mid-game Jayce. He had the Ghost Blade complete. This was supposed to be their fight. And because they dropped the ball on their side vision, they lose an objective that was theirs.
Hurts a lot. Uzi scratching his chin for a second, reevaluating what he wants to do, but probably saying to his team, look, wait until 2 items. I'll come back into this game. I will carry this one on Ashe. But the early game now definitively going over to EDG. That has given a bit of pressure to XiaoHu to knock down this middle tower, at least take some health points off it. But that Mountain Dragon is really going to pay off in the future for EDG now.
As long as they can get in a position to use it. In fact, that's 2 dragons that would have been better suited for RNG's composition.
That's true, actually, yeah. Would be the perfect dragons.
Perfect dragons.
What was Fireloli doing? Because we did talk about him in the early game, saying we need to see more from this man, and he is 1, 0, and 2. Has been in all of these kills so far. Needed to be exactly where he is, has been where he needed to be.
And you know, we've talked about how Ming has big shoes to fill coming in from Mata, but Fireloli is in the exact same boat, trying to come in and replace Clearlove of all people, the shot caller of this team. And I don't know if you noticed that on your mini-map, but there was an arrow fired into nothing. Fireloli, though, in interviews has been incredibly hard on himself. Super disappointed with himself even in EDG's losses. So momentum and morale is going to be a big thing to constantly watch with him, to make sure that he can keep a level head and make sure that he can last in an elongated series. Because despite the fact that he's been with so many different professional teams, IMA, EDG, EDE, he's never really played in a high-pressure situation or started on a stage before. This is probably the largest premier event that he's been the starter for.
I mean, the only thing that would be higher pressure than the semi-finals of the LPL and Spring Split would be going into the finals or even 3rd place here, so the pressure is ramping up for these newer players, these younger players for sure. We have a lot of young players in the LPL who get to kind of cut their teeth on a lot of these big events. Meanwhile, Ming and Uzi into this bot side. Speaking of young players, not Uzi, but definitely to Ming.
Uzi, been playing for what feels like 20 years.
Yeah, and he's still young himself. as a player, as a person, but as a player, he is definitely a veteran.
The fact that you get to be a veteran of the LPL at 18 years old really
pretty
speaks
crazy
to the region itself.
Yeah, for certain. RNG are now setting up in this mid lane once more, but they're unable to crack it.
And that's why that missing Ashe arrow that I slightly alluded to before is actually so important. Because Uzi didn't connect on it, there's a lot of momentum lost for RNG's composition. You know, they don't have that hard CC to turn a pick into a structure.
What has been the big difference between Game 1 and Game 2 here for us? Because in Game 1, it just looked like RNG had complete control. They were on a different level as a team than EDG. But in this one, all these picks and just how EDG have been playing has just been on a different, been entirely different.
Frankly, it's EDG just being far more defensive, although I feel like we're about to get a bit of a skirmish. EDG certainly want to fight knowing that that Ashe arrow is down.
For sure, 3-1 right now. But in the end, he didn't turn it into anything. Though Mouse is still looking for this flank. He walks over that control ward and will walk back.
So much vision from both teams in this neutral river. A lot of EDG's vision has been cleared out, but EDG now just need to start clearing out RNG's vision.
Yeah.
Actually feels like it's going to be a reset for both these waves.
It looks like that is the case, because Dragon's not up for a fair while as well, and lots of minion wins coming in for RNG. But to revisit that question, EDG, they are playing so differently in this game. And is it a compositional thing? Is it just how the early game went?
They didn't sack their bot lane as hard with their 2v2, which I think is a big part of it. But again, it's also just how defensive they've been playing, especially with their vision. But speaking of defensive, it's about to get offensive.
Here comes Mouse, jumps right onto Ming, and again the ultimate used by LetME, but that shielding is just not enough when the full weight of EDG is bearing down on you.
And again, the importance of Uzi missing his Ashe arrow means that they can't convert it into a tower. Well, Mouse has the same responsibility with the cast. The difference is he hit his ultimate.
RNG are trying desperately to clear out these minions, but that one hero minion is still alive, allowing EDG to take down the middle inner tower. Mlxg is trying to get an into this fight. LetME coming up to the side, and Zed definitely took the wrong route back to his team, though LetME doesn't have the damage by himself just yet.
They just need to disengage here. EDG, you got what you came for. Go home, spend your gold, reset your waves, and set up for the next power play.
4-1 in towers, 4-1 in kills. 2 dragons to their name. Next one's going to be another ocean dragon. And RNG are just lamenting on what could have been in this series, in this game. So far, it's not gone their way whatsoever, and XiaoHu didn't even dent Mouse.
And frankly, it's been Mouse that have really broken this game up for EDG. 2 really fundamental flanks. The first one right before that big mountain dragon, making sure that they found the pick so they had the numbers advantage. And the second one, peeking behind the mid tower, allowing them not just only to break that one, but 2 of them. He has certainly cracked this game wide open for EDG and showed why he's the starting top laner out of 3 that they have in the org.
That's true. We saw good performances coming in from Kuro and Min, but Mouse has really just stepped up his game.
I mean, Min was the one-hit wonder. That guy, the mercenary, the ringer that they brought in just to take down Team WE. He shows up once and then disappears into the night.
I mean, I was pretty positive that EDG had spliced both of their top lanes together to create Min, because we saw some great things in that one game.
There was definitely some jokes about turkey basers that were going on behind the scenes. I've got it, the perfect top laner.
That's what it looked like, but Mouse has come back. He has been a consistent force, and I know a lot of people will be coming in here, only watching international play, now watching the playoffs of EDG versus RNG here in the semi-finals of the split, but they'll look towards Mouse and say, well, he didn't do a lot when I saw him at Worlds, but domestically, Mouse is a monster. Mouse is, definitely doesn't squeak his way into these semis.
And he's also improved himself since his Worlds performance. It feels like he's much more consistent, a playmaker, whereas before he was really just that zoning tool or that big potato front line. This time around, he's one of the veterans on the roster left. You know, it's kind of Mouse, Scout, and Meiko as your core, and then Zet and Fireloli trying to keep up with, you know, frankly, roles or players that they could never hope to surpass.
Yeah.
They just need to kind of fundamentally change the team.
And it's weird saying that even Scout is a core of the lineup, you know? Like, he's not even particularly old player on that roster.
But Scout also has an incredible storyline. I mean, I know that Pawn's playing over in the LCK right as we speak, but poor little Scout, he stood in the shadow of Faker to start with, you know, really getting his grounding when he played in the Kespa Cup in 2015. He then comes to the LPL, he's like, man, now I fight finally get to start, and I'm starting behind pawn. And then finally gets his start in 2016 for the majority of summer, but really came into his own in 2017. Scout is now one of the top mid laners in the LPL, so moving out of Faker and Pawn Shadow to make his own name.
Honestly, the mid lane Shadow would be a pretty cool superhero name if he had to pick one. But he has done more than that. He has stepped into the light and done so much for his team. And he's just mechanically incredibly strong, and that's why we were questioning in Champion Select, why is less priority going towards him in the mid lane? Maybe he just doesn't need it, as we now look towards Scout, who takes a massive javelin to the face. So as much as we just said, look at this guy, he's a monster, he just went down to 50% HP.
To be fair, he caught that all perfectly with his teeth. He's like, Shock Blast, I can catch this javelin. I've got it all.
There you go, he's calculated. Top tower's going to go down to RNG, and they will start to fire back just a little. But it has been a lot of downtime in the last kind of 3-4 minutes of this game, while EDG look to solidify their lead, set up vision around this Baron, these big monster objectives.
We've really been playing tug of war between these two teams in wave control. So it's been about getting priority, getting a shove, and then once you have the shove, rotating underneath it to start taking chip at the structures that you want. And frankly, over the last 4 minutes, RNG have gotten back on the right foot, and they're doing it better than EDG. EDG do have control over the mid lane in particular. It helps that those two towers are down, but because of all of the wave clear between between Nidalee, Karma, Ashe, and Jayce, they're able to absorb a lot of that.
Well, EDG have actually just straight up started Baron, and RNG are completely blind. Meiko, what's this? A random Yordle just walking through the forest. What could he possibly be doing? And all of a sudden, Baron's already gone.
The Hawk Shot. Little bit too late there, Uzi, but will they get more? Oh, this is ballsy.
They are going real deep for this tower. RNG, that could have been insanely bad for them.
The only thing that saved them there is the fact that Scout actually used the Realm Warp near the Baron instead of saving it so they could look for the flank there. But that's something that I do love about RNG is that, okay, they get the Baron, but let's see what we can try to force for. Just push a little bit farther.
And it was tempered, it was controlled, because they did back away when they needed to. LetME was still in that bottom lane, pushing away, pushing this minion wave into Mouse now.
But then all of that free wave clear that we were just talking about on RNG's comp, you know, the fact that they were able to absorb a lot of the mid lane control despite not having those two mid lane towers, gets that much harder because they're looking across that Baron buff. And huge compliments to EDG. They've done a much better job this game around with their vision control. You've got 3 control wards around that Baron area, 2, I can't count. But very clean, very tempered, very disciplined. And this is what we need from an elite LPL team that could theoretically go into the finals.
Compliments as well to Fireloli, because we know he is one of the shot callers on the team. And we did... he had a challenge in this game, you know? He got the first pick of Graves in Game 1 and Game 2. But this time, he's made those calls. He's gone from lane to lane. He's been part of every single kill in this game. He's really made this game work for EDG, so he stepped it up. That is really nice to see.
EDG now stepping up and setting up for their bot lane shove. We'll see if RNG make the same mistake that they did in game number 1 by just dying randomly on an inhib tower and giving away a game. I suspect that they could stall EDG's Baron pretty significantly between Jayce, Ashe, and Karma.
Now stepping up, just allowing a couple pot shots coming in from Zet at the same time. Barrow coming out there as well for wave clear.
This is why it's so pivotal what Scout's doing in the mid lane right now, making sure that other waves are being prepped, pulling Uzi away so they lose some of that wave clear on the comp. We'll see if he uses the drop ship. He does have Realm Warp available.
Might attempt it, but all those minions are down, so it's not much of a drop ship right now. Meanwhile, Uzi will step up to this mid lane, and Mlxg is here as well, but this is a 2 versus 1, and Uzi just takes so much damage from the spell flux, and so does Mlxg. I mean, Scout is just 1v3 right now and winning.
Pulls over Mouse for a bit more protection, but like you said, he is winning.
This tower is so low. RNG at some point do need to pull the trigger.
This is the other problem where RNG fall down. LetME is not a very strong engagement unless he has Kled.
Stepping up to this tower, Zet doing so much damage. Here comes the arrow, instantly cleansed out. Mouse, he has the Guardian Angel. They cannot open up onto this man. Turns it around, and mid tower's down. Scout has blasted open this base.
At this point, RNG just need to slow down the inevitable. Don't die for this inhib. Live to fight another day unless you find the perfect pick.
Zet is pushing down the bot side as well, getting his poke off to XiaoHu. Zet doesn't have that cleanse now. He is a prime target for RNG if they want it. It's just when are they going to pull the trigger? It is right now. Zed has opened up on it and he goes down. But LetME and Mlxg getting completely shredded. Mlxg will make it out alive, but Scout is on his front line dealing the damage and he will destroy LetME. Fireloli is off to the side and he's making sure that no one can get an in on this fight. EDG take down the tower, the second one in the inhib, and take down the inhib itself.
So finally LetME finds his courage there, decides to pull the trigger knowing that Cask isn't around. Hold on though.
We're taking a trip out of town. Goodbye. I'm out of here. EDG, as smooth as you like, taking down bot inhib, taking down middle inhib, and they get beamed back up.
I was going to say, beam me up, Scotty. We got what we came for. We're ready to exit. Huge play there from EDG. Normally, you would expect that you'd only get a single inhib, but masterfully set up by Scout in particular to open up the potential for a 2-inhib strike.
Dragon down. 4,000 Baron power play. 4 dragons now to the side of EDG. 30 minutes into this game, and this looks like EDG's game to lose.
And this is the thing. LetME has the confidence to finally go because he knows the Cask isn't there, so the Gragas can't immediately try to disengage. But the problem is that the creep waves are there. They're unable to follow up and burst the targets out immediately. And then the tempo shifts back and EDG just take everything.
What a difference as well compared to game 1 in terms of how EDG have won this game. This has been a 7-kill game in half an hour. I'm pretty sure the first game of the LCK finals had more kills than this one. And that's crazy to think about because this is the LPL. But the way that EDG are winning is they are just splitting RNG apart.
Just really slowing them down, waiting for Mouse in particular to set up and make the plays. It's really been a game of both top laners, and unfortunately, LetME is just invisible on the Shen pick.
He honestly is. I said it in Champions Select because I am very biased towards hype top lane picks, but Fizz was available, and it was the last pick of Shen. There was a possibility for it. As Scout is charging up the realm wall, coming in with some additional fire support for the super minion. Wants to go back to his original duty. He's going back to the mid lane.
And that is difficult to time correctly on the super creep, but hold on.
This tower is going to go down. Mouse takes a bit of damage. XiaoHu turning it around as well. Ming locked in place. So much damage coming in from EDG. He's still alive though. Uzi locked up, but collateral down finds one. Second kill over the Zed. Mlxg's going nowhere. He has to trade his life for Zed, but they doesn't even get the trade to happen. That was a bad trade deal. And down goes LetME as well. XiaoHu, the last remaining member of RNG. 5-0. EDG look towards game 2.
An incredible outplay from Zed right there. The moves, the sidestep, the kiting. He looked like deft.
Oh, this tower going down. EDG turn their attention to the Nexus. And they will even this one up. EDG fire back and take game 2.
And you wouldn't know it from their faces. Still all business. Very serious. As Meiko's like, is this water? Is this coffee? Can I put it in my mouth?
Incredible. And it's now turned into a best of 3. 1-1 in this series. EDG, honestly, looking pretty happy. Probably just took a look at the damage charts as well there. And RNG just could not find a foot in. And just the way that these first 2 games have happened in this best of 5 is honestly insane. Like, that's probably the same goal graph from game 1.
It's also a very different way that EDG actually win. You know, normally they break down towers very quickly. They start ramping up snowballing gold. They move their bottom lane around. That's what, a 12, 13-minute power spike? Yep. Normally they start spiking it around 8 minutes in the game. So EDG also playing a very different, very measured sort of series against RNG.
I remember what you said to me last game. The only thing that EDG got was 4 kills. This time, the only thing that RNG got was 2 kills. And a very even damage chart. And we look at the mid laners. But yeah, that was an intense game. EDG just took it to RNG.
I mean, frankly, it came down to execution and not so much the sustained damage. It was 2 key casks and then Zed just going Rambo in that last team fight. Of course, by then it was kind of all said and done for RNG. A great Baron play put EDG into that power play. But still, want to give compliments to Zed. It's such a shame that the game ended and we didn't get to see a replay of that because he was going off.
Yeah, everyone was dogpiling on top of him and just no one could kill him. Nidalee on his face, doesn't matter, I'm going to kill you as well. Shen coming in there, nope, not going to happen. And I think it does come down to what you said as well. Actually, we're going to get another look in on that final team fight as the tower went down.
I do love you, producer. So everything started out by Mouse. They time it perfectly for the tower to go down. But all eyes need to be on how Varus is going to take charge of all of the burst damage that Ryze and Graves have set up. The Nidalee jumps on him. He continues to kite. He's got great CC in front of him. And here comes the flash. Jayce, bam, flashed away from the damage. You're going down 2.
There was not a single beat in that team fight where Zet was not firing at someone, and he probably killed everybody. If there was a chance to pick up a Penta, that was probably it, because he was doing so much damage.
And that's what we were talking about at the top of the day. You know, Uzi versus Zet. We all know what Uzi's identity is, but what does Zet actually bring to EDG? What is his role that he fills? And he's an excellent 5v5 AD carry. Not so strong in the lane. He's decent. He's got Meiko standing behind him to do a lot of that heavy lifting. But if you give him the tools like Scout, like Mouse, like Meiko, all standing in front of him, he can be that AD carry that EDG need.
It's also relative, right, Frost? Because you say that in context of RNG when they have Uzi, but when you compare him to the rest of the league, you can say he's a laning AD carry because he'll beat out most of them by simply being better. But absolutely, when you compare him to like the top of the table, the top 4 in our league, that is the case for certain. I do want to bring it back to top lane though. I do feel like there was a misstep in top side where LetME just couldn't do anything. Every single time in that early stage of the game where you're like, ah, perfect, we have a Shen, they're opening up the skirmish, we'll just have the Shen teleport down on one of these champions with the ultimate. They burnt through the shield and killed the target anyway, so it just didn't matter. There was constant pressure from Mouse, so he could never teleport out. He had the cask available, the body slam, so he honestly felt invisible for 95% of that game.
I mean, Mouse was winning his lane, he was winning the team fights, he had superior rotations, controlling the lanes, like everything that you would want out of a top laner.
Well, at the same time, it had to be Zet. We saw the replay of, we basically saw the whole highlight reel of Zet in the last 5 minutes.
But he wasn't flashy like Zet was at the end. That said, Zet had insane kill participation, 91%, so yes, it was Mouse that was setting up the dominoes, but it was still up to Zet to knock him down.
Oh yeah, for certain. I feel like it was a 2-man effort setting up those dominoes. Fireloli was also doing it in the jungle, but Zet, I mean, it's just really cool actually to see him get an MVP in this best of 5 in the semis against Uzi. Like, of all the players in the league that you could have an exceptional AD carry performance against, it would be that guy in the bottom lane.
And that's the thing about EDG. Again, the global audience looks at this team and like, they are hemorrhaging talent. They lose Pawn, they lose Deft, they lose Clearlove. Like, what do EDG even mean right now? Who is Zet? What can I expect from him? And the thing is, good things, as long as he's
showed him that game.
In the 5v5, yeah, show him that highlight reel. He can definitely step up. If you see him play Ezreal, I'm saying, you cover the nameplates, he looks just like Deft.
And just the way that, to go back onto how EDG won the game, it was very much slower than RNG. RNG kind of won in true RNG style, which was get ahead in the laning phase, outshine our opponents through pure star power, and then just roller coaster over their opponents. And in this game, EDG slowed it down. It wasn't until 30 minutes anything happened whatsoever. Either way, we are going to take a very quick break here, Froskurinn, as we set up for Game 3. It is 1 win apiece, so both teams are incredibly close.